This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And today we are, has it been a month of quarantine already?
It's been too damn long.
Man. 1 month of quarantine podcast. Hope everyone out there is surviving. We hope you're doing well. We're obviously an NBA podcast, and the biggest news out of the NBA are the Chicago Bulls doing things. So if you are interested in hearing our thoughts about that, we got a different podcast for that. We got Superfans. So if you are interested in listening about the Bulls, go over there and check that out. We're going to have a ton of content about that. The signing of Arturas Karnisovas, getting used to that name, Karnisovas as the new Bulls GM. We're going to be talking about the lack of minority interviews for that position as well with our patron Pat. What's the other one? Well, we'll talk about Donovan Mitchell possibly becoming a Bull. So we'll talk about all that over on Superfans. But today we are going to be continuing our draft prospect, our draft look-ins. We are going down the lottery and going down the mock draft order, and we are just talking about which teams and which prospects are the best fits for them. We're doing the Washington Wizards today, the Phoenix Suns, and the San Antonio Spurs. Before we get into that, we do want to ask you, check out patreon.com/mostofapodcast. If you want to be on a podcast, if you want to be in our Discord chats, just like Pat will be on the Superfans, or like Jake was last week doing top 10 NBA players, check out patreon.com/mostofapodcast. That's how you can support us. We appreciate it. We love the support, and we obviously love ending up connecting with you guys because we get to talk to you for a half hour each month, and that's always a real fun part of these podcasts. But let's get into the meat of our podcast. We'll start with the Wizards. This has been a team that, they have some pieces that are very good, but not all those pieces are healthy. John Wall out this entire year, was injured, I think, half the season last year as well. You got Bradley Beal, who's putting the team on his shoulders. Rui Hachimura was injured with a groin injury as well. So this team isn't fully complete yet, but they do have some interesting pieces. John Wall, Bradley Beal are locked up till 2022, 2023. You have Jan Mahimi coming off the books for $15 million after this season. Davis Bertans is coming off for $7 million. Shabazz Napier coming off for 1.82, and Gary Payton coming off for $1 million this year, along with that's pretty much it free agent wise. But so this team really, you got Beal, you got Wall, and then you got the younger players like Bryant, Rui Hachimura, Jerome Robinson, Troy Brown, Mo Wagner, Isaac Bonga, and Admiral Schofield. So that's kind of the makeup of this team. They're going to be picking in that 9 to possibly number 1 overall. Their odds are 20% to 20.3% to get in the top 4, 4.5 to get the number 1 overall pick. So I'm looking at this team as they're likely going to be around that 9 to 10 range. And this isn't a team that really needs a star because they have, one already in Bradley Beal. I think they just need to just try to find these, complementary pieces and pieces that will be healthy. Dave, I'm going to start with you. Looking at them, and we're not going to go with the number 1, because that's a long shot, 4.5. Let's deal with the actuality, which is going to be in that 9 range. What position and what type of impact player should they be looking for? Because they drafted Hachimura last year. He's mainly a slasher. They got Bradley Beal. He can do it from anywhere. John Wall is a pretty good scorer when he's healthy and a great great facilitator. So what type of player should they be looking to add to this core?
I mean, I think the glaring hole is at the wing position. I don't think that Rui is going to be able to play the 3 defensively on a lot of guys. So they just need another wing out there, whether that is a couple of options out there. They could go the route of, aiming for a defensive slashing wing. So you have 2 slashers on the outside with someone like Isaac Okoro, who great defensive matchup. He's 6'6", he's very built. He's extremely efficient while driving to the rim, mostly because a lot of time teams just don't have another big guard wing at his role, like with as much muscle and strength as he's really bringing to the table in college. So we'll see how that translates to the NBA level. But you got to think that he's near the top of their board. Another one could be Devin Vassell, someone who we really like here. He seems to fit the mold of what I would expect them to take, just because he kind of seems like, maybe Otto Porter light, great defender on the wing, good hands, good ability to create some havoc on the defensive end as a help defender. He's not going to be ball dominant by any means. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. He can do catch and shoot. He's just someone who's an efficient player through and through as a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the thing that I'm thinking about is this is an easy one. If they're at 9, they need a wing. Like, I'm looking at the 3 position solely. They don't need a point guard. They've got John Wall. They've got their 2 in Bradley Beal. And the thing I'm kind of thinking about in my mind is I know that a lot of mock drafts that I've seen have Okoro going there, but I wonder if with Okoro, his 3-point shooting isn't like the other wings. Vassell's is better. Sadiq Bey's is better. Even stretching a little bit, Aaron Nesmith, his 3-point percentage is better. So, like, for me, and the question I'll throw out to you guys is, let's say they're looking for a wing, do you go with Okoro because he might be the one that, yes, he doesn't have that as good of a stroke, I'll say, from beyond the arc, but to me, he might be the one with the most potential out of the ones? Or do you go with a Sadiq Bey or even a Tyler Bey? Or do you even trade back and go with, hey, we'll trade back, get some assets, and maybe draft Aaron Nesmith with the later pick?
Real quick, I don't understand your obsession with Tyler Bey. The guy's not a first rounder, let alone 9th overall. So
no, I mean
Sadiq's a little bit of a stretch at 9.
On big boards, he's within the.
Tyler Bey isn't a first rounder.
Yeah, no, he's in first round. Mock.
No, I don't care who's big board.
I mean, on Tankathon, he's 14.
He's not a first rounder.
He's 14 on the big board.
Okay,
I think he can be a first round talent.
Sadiq Bey.
No, Tyler Bey's at 4. I'm looking at the big board. The big board, they have Bey at 14, and they have Tyler at 14, Sadiq at 18. I think Tyler Bey could be a first round pick. Is he a 9th overall?
Big board that you do, apparently.
Is he a 8th overall pick or 9th overall pick? No. He would be in the same boat as Nesmith, where they would have to trade back. Like, and that's, I think, an option for them. Like, if you're gonna say, hey, we're gonna get a wing out of this, and they don't want a Okoro, and you don't want to take even, let's say, Sadiq up at 9, this team could trade back, get either a Tyler Bey or a Aaron Nesmith if shooting from your wing or defense from your wing.
Bey's not a shooter. Bey's really only going to bring you defense on that wing. And if we're talking about that, I mean, Okoro can develop into a really good slasher along with the defense that he already brings. Vassell's already a great shooter, and he's a phenomenal defender. He's the best defender on that Florida State team, and they got a ton of them. So I'm really looking, if they're at that 9 spot and they're looking to fill a position, mainly of a wing, I'm looking Vassell and I'm looking Okoro. I'm not looking to trade out because I still need to fill out my team. I'm not. I mean, this isn't.
Well,
a team
I'm not saying
set.
Trade out, but they could be a team that trades from 9 to like the 15.
What's the actual value in that? Like moving back to 15, like what are you actually going to get there? You might get like a top 20 protected, a lotto protected first.
To me, you would make that deal if, let's say, Aaron Nesmith is a guy they really like. I'm not going to take Nesmith at 9, but I can trade back to 15, between 15, 20, maybe 14, get some extra draft capital, and then take Aaron Nesmith.
I'm not taking Nesmith at 9 just because I don't know if positionally he would even fit there. He's going to be a bench guard if you draft him, because, I mean, you already have Beal and Wall there, and Nesmith can't play the 3. So I don't know if Nesmith is the right fit just positionally there, and I think there's going to be better players available anyways. I'm going to ask this question. We're talking wings. We're talking guards.
Yeah.
If Onyeka Okongwu is there at 9, I think they really have to consider him because yes, they did just re-sign Thomas Bryant to an $8 million a year. I think it was 24 over 3. He's making $8 million for the next 3 years.
8.3 and then 8.6 the next 3.
Yeah, and he's a very good offensive player. And I really can't judge anyone on the Wizards defensively because they all were horrible. I mean, they were the worst defensive team in the league. I don't think you can get a fair, showing of what these guys are defensively because they weren't really. Their goal wasn't to play defense. Their goal was to score 130 a night. So I really don't want to say he's a bad defender. He could possibly be capable, but we know Onyeka Okongwu is a great defender. Yeah. And I think if you add that to your team and you have Wall, Beal, and Onyeka Okongwu, Rui Hachimura, that really starts to take place and you drafted Troy Brown. I mean, you already have a 3 on this roster that you took in the first round 2 years ago. And he might not be ready yet, but you still
he's a point guard light though. Like you got to admit, he's that Evan Turner kind of a mold.
Yeah, but
he's still young
bigger,
though, which is nice.
And he's still 6'7". He's still got the size and the frame. But you're right. His positional is more of a ball handler. But I think Onyeka Okongwu, I mean, we were complaining about it before the draft or before the podcast started, that someone was saying, oh, why are you guys even talking this way? You shouldn't be talking about fits. You shouldn't be talking about positions. You guys should have to take best player available. Well, we're trying to create conversation. And if best player available is Onyeka Okongwu, I don't think they should pass him up.
No, I'm 100% with you. I think we just kind of jam Onyeka Okongwu in that 4 through 7 range because we know talent wise he's there. He's such a dynamic defender at the college level. He's got he's an undersized 5 or a true 4, the same way that Bam Adebayo is. He has a lot of potential. There's just something special about the way he goes about his game. He knows his role, and like he's so efficient in it. Like at a national level, like historic level, he is incredibly efficient. So I think that's the thing that kind of gets overshadowed at times. If he's on the board, they absolutely should go for him because I think they can make it work playing him and Rui on the floor at the same time. It's just then the question of his rotation with Thomas Bryant and Rui. It kind of becomes a 4-5 combo that you just kind of mix and match pairings,
Let me ask you this, Ricky, before you answer the Onyeka Okongwu thing. Because I just simmed I'm on Tankathon, simmed it 4 times. Every time the Wizards were in the top 4. Whether it be 1, 2, or 4, they've been there. And I think they were even one once in our mock draft. I want to say it was 1.0 that they were the number 1 team there. It was either 1.0 or 2.0 that they had the number 1 overall pick. But let's say they're at 4, right? Wiseman, Edwards, Ball off the board. 1.0, they were number 1. So if you do want to see what they're going to be like if they're drafting number 1 overall, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's say they're out of the Wiseman, the Ball, and the Edwards, right? Those guys go 1, 2, 3. At 4, where would you go? Would it be Onyeka Okongwu, like we're saying, he might fit well with Bryant and Rui Hachimura, or we were talking about wings a little bit earlier. Denny Avdia is still available.
It's Denny all day, every day, like that, and that's like the one I just simmed. Warriors at 1 take Wiseman. The Wolves at 2 take Edwards. Knicks at 3 take Ball.
I have the same one.
And then Warriors are at 4, and I take Denny because to me, the other thing I play in because I think about these things, I feel like more than you guys. And a lot of people just see second round picks as, I'm throwing them away. They have no value to me. And I really think in this year's draft there could be some gems in the second round. Well,
can I just stop you right there and say,
ahead.
If you mention Ayo Dosunmu, I'm just dropping the call.
Not mentioning Ayo at all.
I don't think that. Well,
not mentioning
Ayo. Second rounders don't have value, but second rounders are easy to come by. They're not that.
I just
that
with me
cash considerations.
This is
I mean, you could buy them.
This is why I feel though like I would go Denny over Onyeka. Is Denny is the best wing in this draft, so I'm gonna take him. Plus, if I look at my right now 37th overall pick, the Bulls' second rounder, there's more of an opportunity for me to get a big. If I want a center, there's a better chance that a Xavier Tillman, a Zeke Nnaji, Daniel Oturu are down there, and I can get them there or trade up a little bit because second rounders are so easy to move. I can move up to 32, 31 if I really want to get a center that maybe I have to develop a little bit more than Onyeka, but then I'm getting a really good wing player in Denny Avdia.
And you're missing the why. It's Onyeka. Just so we're fair to Onyeka Okongwu.
Yeah.
But Dave, I'm going to ask you the same question there.
Yeah.
Let's say Wiseman, Ball, Edwards are off the board. Ricky's fine with Denny Avdia going 4. Would you consider Onyeka going there? I mean, obviously, because him falling to 9 is likely a stretch. So let's say they're at 4. We've been talking about wings. We've been talking about Onyeka Okongwu. Let's give them actual good ones. And Denny and Onyeka, who are you taking?
I would have to lean Denny. And I know that there's the potential to be like, there's too much overlap between him and Rui from a positional standpoint. But I just think someone with the abilities that Denny has, the size, being a bigger wing, ball handling ability, good defender on the perimeter, able to read defenses from an offensive standpoint and be that secondary ball handler. Like, he's got a really interesting kit, and I think a lot of people are just a little timid about him because of the fact that he's a European player. We haven't seen consistent hits in the draft from European players. It's very hit or miss because limited level of competition, the tape, everything around the process kind of still shrouded in mystery, I feel. So I understand the hesitation, but someone with his skill set feels like as sure of a thing as we can get in this year's draft class. After we talked about, hey, it's a shortened season, the top talent out there has been playing, so it just turns into like the ultimate storm of, there's a reason that he's mocked in the top 4, top 5 for a lot of people, and I think he'd be an absolute hit here with the Wizards at 4.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same realm just because I like Avdia, and the thing too that I think would be beneficial. I mean, what are we expecting from John Wall when he comes back? Let me ask that, because you have John Wall, who obviously is a very capable facilitator. Bradley Beal, in the time that John Wall's been out, showed that he can move the ball around as well. Denny, you're getting a third then ball mover on this team. Do you think that might take away from Denny's one or better assets in his passings if he's not consistently touching the ball as much as he would, because John Wall and Bradley Beal can be so ball dominant?
Well, the thing that I just would throw out there is, have you ever had a coach, player, analyst ever say, oh man, this team's good, but I think they got too much ball movement? No. Like, that's what I think of. Like, if you have guys that can move the ball around, too much ball movement is usually never a bad thing.
But it's not ball movement, it's ball handlers. I agree with you. Like, the ball movement, yes, but like I feel like a lot of the teams that have great ball movement have guys who are like defined role players.
Yeah. Now, can Scotty Brooks mold them into what the ball movement should be? That's a topic for another day, because I know how we think of Scotty Brooks on this podcast.
Pretty low.
But I mean, if you got the right guy in charge, I don't think that these players are so, and yes, I'm talking about the 2 alphas, are so stonehead to where they can't make it work. That's what I would think. So I would say no, it wouldn't worry me with Denny.
Yeah, I have to be okay with it. I don't see, just the upside of having a ball handler is higher than having someone like Big O in this class, and especially for this team. It's just ball handler has higher priority. I usually lean towards guards, but in this case, it's a wing. It's even kind of a weird, like, off unique category as far as talent evaluators concern it. But there's just more value to be had out of a wing who can handle the ball as well as he can. There's more upside. He's still, they're both super young prospects. They both have an incredible potential, but give me the guy who's comfortable with the ball in his hands, who can create for himself and create for others. I want to put Onyeka in that category with Bam, but he's just got so much growing to do. He doesn't have that court vision yet. He still needs to work on, being able to dribble the ball without it being like a glaring, like, just opening for other people to take the ball away from him and pass out of the post. So he's got a lot of the right pieces to build into that prototypical player, but Denny right now just seems like just a way higher upside in my mind.
All right, let's move up before we move back down. And I think when we move back down, we'll talk a little bit, because this is a team that is somewhat close to the lottery. And even at 9, or coming out of the lottery, I think they're closer to the back end of the lottery, if I'm doing my math right, closer to the back end of the lottery than they are the front end of the lottery. But with that, let's say they get the number 1 overall pick. They just did on my Take-a-thon sim. Apparently, Take-a-thon loves them. They have the ability to take Wiseman, Ball, or Edwards. Dave, I'll start with you. You just talked about ball movement and how important it is. Obviously, LaMelo Ball, fantastic ball mover. Anthony Edwards, another scorer. And you just talked about James Wiseman. You want passing, at least, that to be a skill of your big men, or at least what you were describing. And I don't know if that's Wiseman's, that isn't one of Wiseman's key skills there. So if they're number 1 overall, would you take LaMelo Ball then with what you're describing?
Oh, it's tough. I think Wiseman is the, like, if I'm just looking to throw a dart at the wall and like, hey, who can impact this team most year 1? It's James Wiseman. He's someone who can instantly come in, be their starting center, be able to be just super impactful. The Wizards' quick pace of play, the fact that they've got shooters on the outside, like he would feast in their system. And I think, him being able to be just a rim runner absolutely would thrive. The fact that he's still got to grow the rest of his game, he has a little bit of spacing on his shot. Like he's absolutely dangerous. I think he's the fit, but if you look long term, I do have to consider LaMelo Ball, and that's kind of where it comes into the doubt starts to build, because it all depends on where you kind of project LaMelo Ball kind of landing at as a finished NBA player. Will he learn that ball control and to take the right shots? Will he learn to be able to pass up on just being like, I'm the go-to guy on this team because in my head I'm the best player kind of mentality, which at times he's taking a back seat to other players, especially growing up. We've seen, the youth games, the travel teams, everything around that scene. And then when he went over to Australia and New Zealand to play, for a while he wasn't the guy on the team. Injuries happened. He stepped up in the opportunity and just started launching shots, with absolutely no concern for quality of looks. So if he can get over that, big if, and he develops a steady, consistent shot, I think he's still got the highest upside in the entire draft because of his size. I mean, we're talking about a kid who's 6'7", 6'8", with incredible handles, court vision, in the same tier as John Morant and Trae Young, they're saying. So that is such a tempting product, but that's maybe in 3, 4, 5 years. If he grows into his body, if he grows into, the mentality, if he learns to play a little bit defense, there's a lot of ifs and, cans and shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
So he is the boomer bust prospect of this class, no doubt in my mind. I would likely play it safe and take James Wiseman, even though everything in me is screaming, take LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, and just looking at, you talk about the development in the 4 years. I mean, that's when Beal and Wall and Hachimura will be up. That's the longest lasting contract they got. 2022, 2023 is 4 years from now. And that's when Beal, Wall, and Hachimura will all be in their last year of their deals. Ricky, same question to you. First overall, who are you taking?
I am taking James Wiseman. And the reason being is I agree with Dave. If you're worried about John Wall's health going forward, LaMelo is a close 2. But the other thing that I think about, and Sean, you would always bring this up when I'd be like, I would always throw the trade John Wall or trade Bradley Beal discussion out there. Because I don't think that these two together are going to win a title, especially if John Wall is as hurt as he is. But like you said, no one's going to want John Wall's contract. It's an immovable contract. They're stuck with it until 2023. And if I'm trying to get the most out of John Wall and Bradley Beal, I think James Wiseman does the most for me, because I think with Anthony Edwards, he's not, to me, the most finished product. It's not like you're getting a Zion like last year. It's not even like you're getting an RJ. Yeah, I would say RJ is higher than Anthony Edwards is this year. So it's not like you're even getting an RJ. But like with James Wiseman, it's not like you're getting anything. It's not like you're getting a finished product as well, but you're getting something that could fit this team more, and there's no overlap. Like LaMelo and Edwards would overlap with Wall and Beal.
Yeah, you'd probably need to have LaMelo play the 3, and we already know how bad he is defensively. We know already that there's so many talented and skilled scorers already at the 3 position that, I mean, hell, if he's going up against KD, against Brooklyn, KD's going to kill him. If he's going up against, LeBron James, LeBron's going to kill him, right? If he's going up against Giannis, Giannis is going to kill him. Even like Chris Middleton. Yeah. If he's going up against Chris Middleton in a Boston,
mid-tier players, Sean.
Yeah.
Don't even have to be
Rudy
an all-star.
Gay, our guy, Rudy Gay.
Fucking Rudy
Gay. He'd kill LaMelo Ball. But yeah, no, I mean that'd be the biggest issue with LaMelo Ball is, can he play the 3 then? Obviously size wise, I mean he's got the size 6'7", 6'8", but does he have the actual frame, the body mass, the speed, the footwork, and also the intensity to even keep up with those type of players and those type of killers that are at the 3? I obviously have vocalized my love for James Wiseman before, and this is the conversation that I think we can get into, because I think
every
if they
single
add
comment section who says we overvalue James Wiseman.
whatever. I mean, if you think that, that's fine. I'm giving my opinion on this podcast. You can give your opinion. That's what we asked for in the comments. So if you want to call me an idiot, that's fine. But in a year when James Wiseman is dunking on people and he's the best player in this draft class, you're not going to be coming back to these comments and saying, "Oh, see, I was wrong." Right? Because you're wrong. If you think we're overvaluing James Wiseman, that's fine. But there's a reason that he was the number one recruit out of high school, and there's a reason why he's still a top 3 prospect in this draft. And also, even those 3 games, if you want to say, "Oh, he only played 3 games," go watch those 3 games. He was fantastic. He was the best player on the court. And yes, he wasn't playing, high tier, high level competition each and every single game, but he was still the best player on the court in all of those games. So I think James Wiseman is the best player in this draft right now. And I think that if you added him to this Wizards team can make the playoffs. I think that if John Wall is healthy to start the season, Bradley Beal is healthy, and you have James Wiseman and Rui Hachimura healthy, I think that this team could make the playoffs. And if they're able to sign Bertans back, I think that you could absolutely see them sneaking in as an 8th seed. And that's the conversation.
Sneaking in? No. They are going to be a 5 seed. No problem in my mind. Because John Wall's coming back and playing down like 22-8 his first year.
But Dave, this is literally the worst defensive team in the league.
They were the worst defensive team in the league.
They're not going to get better adding John Wall.
Yeah, they will. Do you not remember that John Wall is actually an amazing player?
Do you not remember that he's coming off a 1.5 year layoff of an ACL tear?
Have you seen Thick John Wall? Have you seen Thick John Wall? He was throwing out dunks in practice around Christmas, man. Like
I'll be a little bit tentative to call 30-year-old John Wall a decent defender.
I think that you are sleeping. I think that
I'll sleep on John Wall right now.
I've been the biggest Wizards defender for the last 4 years. Every year mocking them during the offseason mocks to the playoffs. Every year being a little disappointed at how they finished the season, but like. He's legit. Like people just don't remember how good he was before he got injured in that 2018, 2019, like December time, I think. Right. Like it's just, it's sad that no, they're absolutely going to be a playoff team next year, regardless of who they add in this year's draft.
Really?
Like, yes.
You think 100%. Even if so just John Wall alone is going to make him a playoff team?
Yeah.
Which team are they knocking out?
Point guard.
Okay, but what team are they knocking out?
Let's take a look at the standings. Let's show me the big board.
You got to say the Magic then, because the Nets are going to be bringing back KD. Philly isn't going to be falling out of the playoffs. Neither is Indiana. Neither is Miami. Neither is Boston. Neither is Toronto. Neither is Milwaukee. So it's got to be only Orlando.
Orlando's falling out. I think the Pacers could fall out. I think that the
Pacers didn't have their best player for the entire year. Why are they going to fall out?
Injuries happen, man, and maybe they keep happening. When your second best player is Sabonis, and then you got basically that combination of the president who has known injury history, and like it seems like it's going to reoccur again. If you lose a point guard, then maybe I don't know if Aaron Holiday's ready to step up and take the spotlight.
Let's put it this way:
point guard for them.
I mean, you're talking about adding the 5th best point guard in the league, but that 5th best point guard has had seasons of 69 games played, 49 games played, 41 games played, and 32 games played, coming off a massive knee injury.
But
so I feel a little bit confident saying that the
because it was two
playoff
injuries.
on the Wizards jumping in.
Like remember, you have to remember it was 2 separate injuries that happened to him. It wasn't just one knee injury. He's been out this. It should because. Seriously, if it was one injury that's kept him out this whole time, I would be like, okay, that's a problem. It's definitely a concern. But like he had one injury, he rehabbed, and then he had another injury. Like it's separate. It's separate pieces of the body. You should not be concerned. I seriously think they're a lock for the playoffs next year if John Wall is healthy.
Well, I mean, the question I would ask is
clarify. December 29th. Ruled out rest of the season with a left heel injury, then underwent season injury surgery on his left heel Jan 2019, and then he developed an infection in the incision from that surgery, then suffered a ruptured Achilles tendon when he slipped and fell in his home. So, I mean, those are the injuries that he's dealing with.
Well, the bottom line is they were 5.5 games back of the Magic. Could John Wall add 6 wins to this team?
Yeah, John Wall on a draft pick can make them a playoff team. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I think that they can be a playoff team. Dave's saying they're going to be 5th in the East. I don't know about that. That's a little ridiculous in my mind.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
what
would be
happens if Kyrie's unhealthy again?
That
What
would be a
happens if KD
14
coming
game
off of
jump.
a horrible injury isn't the same KD? Are the Nets with a new head coach going to be in the same struggle fest? Are they going to be able to make moves?
That's fine, but I am more confident that KD coming back to the Nets, whether they're adding, Ricky's favorite Mark Jackson as their head coach, or they're adding a fired Jim Boylan as their head coach. I'll still take a Jim Boylan-led Kevin Durant over Scotty Brooks-led John Wall off of two.
I mean, that is definitely the biggest problem with the Wizards is still Scotty Brooks. I will not deny that.
So, but I still agree with you that this team can be a playoff team. 5 is a little bit much for me, but I still think they can be a playoff team. So, if that's their mindset that, hey, we're getting John Wall back next year and we're gonna have a draft pick that's in the top 10. Let's say they're picking 9. Is there a type of should they be looking and praying that Obi Toppin should fall to him because he's already developed, or is an age a factor here? In this pick, let me ask that question, Ricky. I'll go to you first. Is age a factor when you're picking 9 and you think you're possibly making that jump into the playoffs?
Age is not a factor. It's how much time is this person going to need to contribute for this team. Like a Rui Hachimura would be perfect again in this draft. A player who is older, doesn't need to kind of develop as much. The only thing with Obi Toppin is, although he's older, I don't think he's the exact thing that Rui Hachimura was. He's still, this was his second year, although he's a third, he's 22, but this was only his second year because of a redshirt year. That would be kind of the thing where the only other person that I think fits the mold that what we're kind of going with is you're going all the way down to Paul Reed as the only guy who, he's 20, but he's the first junior that I come across, the first guy that's been playing 3 consecutive seasons. Even a Sadiq Bey is 20, but he was only a sophomore. So I would go more towards the veteran guy, to use that in air quotes, but I don't think there's a lot of those in this. There's a lot of young guys, a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-old guys that you're just going to have to scout and take the one that's going to help your team the soonest because of the timeline this team is at.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think there's any veterans out there who are perfect fits. So it's kind of a shame that Obi Toppin is the older player in the draft, but I still think he's young to basketball. So I don't even treat him the same way,
Is Obi Toppin even a fit on this team? Just with
no,
Rui
he's overlap with Rui. Yeah, that's the problem. If he is my best player on the board, I would still take him. I would make it work. I would play them out there together. Whatever happens. Let the best player play it out. Trade the other one. That's fine with me. But
I weirdly think it could work. Defensively, I don't know if it can work, but I do think that if you have John Wall out there, he can make those guys that, Obi Toppin's great cutting and driving to the basket. He was doing a phenomenal job setting picks and freeing up those guards at Dayton. And then he was fantastic putting himself in the right position coming off those rolls and getting open looks consistently. That's why he was such a highly efficient shooter. He also had the ability to pick and pop and stretch the floor out. So I do think that he's a little bit different from Hachimura, where Hachimura consistently seems like more of a slasher than Toppin is, where Toppin is just trying to find spaces and holes in the offense, where Hachimura really isn't afraid to take the ball and then drive at people. But I do think those guys moving without the ball, off ball, that John Wall can find them cutting, and they're very athletic, and they have great frames where they could seal out defenders and then get open looks just right around 5 feet. So I think that it weirdly could work. I just don't know if it's, again, the best fit possible for them. But, if he is best player available, he's there at 9. I don't think they should pass it up.
I wouldn't hesitate on him if he was there at 9, unless there was, one of the people I had ranked above him on my big board. But yeah.
I got 2 questions. One of them is because we were talking about Big O earlier, we're talking about OB now. I did a sim where because I wanted to find a sim where both Big O and Wiseman were gone by 9. So if this is the top 8, what are you doing as the Wizards? Edwards goes to the Cavs, Abdia to the Wolves, LaMelo Ball to the Hawks, Wiseman to the Knicks, Big O to the Warriors, Obi Toppin Pistons, Killian Hayes Bulls, Okoro Hornets. If you're at 9, what do you like at that point? What do you do
So
if
best
one
player
falls?
available is Halliburton.
Halliburton, Hampton, Anthony, Vassell,
I'd probably go
Maxey.
Vassell.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. 6'7", he's still going to add onto his frame. He's a little bit more mature in ways just because he's had 2 years in college. But he's a phenomenal defender. So I think it comes back to that original conversation that we were having, Okoro versus Vassell. The thing that you're looking for is a 3 that can play defense, and that's what you're getting in Vassell. And Vassell can also shoot from the outside, which is just not going to kill your spacing, and that's what exactly Washington was still trying to do this year.
They're just trying to replace Otto Porter Jr. on a cheaper contract. That's all they've done.
Yeah, and a little bit different of players too, just because Vassell is smaller than what Otto was. Otto was still a pretty big dude coming out. And Otto wasn't seen just strictly as a 3-and-D player coming out. He was picked 3rd overall. So he wasn't really a guy that was seen just as a guy that was just going to sit out there. He ended up turning into that.
I just mean role on the team, kind of. That's, if they're trying to play from their most successful time on the Wizards in the last history, like the 2016-17, I think.
What I was trying to say there was like Otto Porter was put in there because that was the only role that he had on that team.
Yeah.
Where Vassell kind of fits into that role a little bit more nicer, and I think he'd adjust to it. Where we saw when Otto Porter came over here, it was 15 games, but he was fantastic with the ball in his hands. Like, he was a dominant scorer. And I just want to say, like, Otto Porter, I mean, he has a ton of talent.
Yep.
Injuries have hurt him. Bad fit has hurt him.
Bad coaching
Has hurt him. So I think that, he would be a really good fit there.
Yeah.
And fit better than probably Otto Porter even did in Washington. So is there anything else? Because we just pretty much circled back to our first conversation. So is there any else or any other players that you think would fit with this team before we move on?
The only other question I had, and this isn't about drafting players. This is about kind of bringing what we talked about with John Wall. There has been, Tommy Shepard had said that one of their big plans is to bring back Shabazz Napier this offseason. Does that tell you anything about Wall's injury or his timeline?
No.
That they would then keep 3 point guards on the team? Like, do you think that maybe they're worried that Wall won't be ready by the start of next season?
No.
I mean, I think it's probably something that they're considering, that it's not going to happen. But also, I mean, I don't see an issue with keeping 3 point guards around. I mean, Shabazz Napier is a pretty decent player. Can shoot from the outside. I don't think there's an issue with keeping him around. He's also typically a more natural point guard than Ish Smith is, so he can at least keep ball movement. I mean, Ish is a scorer. Ish gets buckets. We know this. So I think it's just another guard to have that gives you a different skill set. I don't think it's an issue, especially if he's coming cheap, because I mean he had a contract for I think like $2 million this year. So if you're able to get him for like $4 a year for 3 years, I don't see an issue with bringing back Shabazz Napier.
Yeah, I mean it'd be interesting to see, but I think it's just a smart move as the front office to have contingency plans. I mean, we saw how bad this team was this past year, and I feel like the idea is worst case scenario if John isn't ready, which I don't think is going to happen, or if he goes down again, God forbid, we're not looking at the team we brought out this year. And we have expectations still that we have to live up to.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's going to do it for the Wizards. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. If you are a Wizards fan, is there a prospect that your fandom is talking about? Is there a guy that you guys think would absolutely be perfect for your team? I really do like the idea of getting a Wiseman or a Okongwu for this team. I think it would really just kind of seal their team off a little bit, and you'd be able to then look at try to find a 3 to fit into your starting lineup. But I think once you do that, this team could easily push for the playoffs next year. So I think that they should be looking for a 5. I think that's probably their best option, just because both of those guys, Wiseman and Okongwu, are both really talented, and it's a position of need. Although Bryant is good, I do see him more of a bench 5, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, he's very good at scoring, and to have a guy that could take advantage of mismatches like that. Just look at the Clippers with Montrezl Harrell, how good that second unit is. If you have Ish Smith or Shabazz Napier alongside Thomas Bryant, I think that could be a really dangerous second unit. So I'm not writing off Thomas Bryant. I just do think that if you're able to add a 7-1 freak like James Wiseman or a really great defender, Onyeka Okongwu, I wouldn't look past it because this team needs a defensive upgrade, giving up the second most points per game, just behind the Hawks. So
maybe we are underselling Troy Brown even at this point. You know, we saw a good streak from him in mid-year where he was putting up good numbers for them, but you know, it's just how much is there? How much run are they going to give him with the ball in his hands? You know, and is it worth it to take the ball out of John and Bradley's hands? So
yeah, and he's only going to be 21 this year too. So he's still young, younger than Obi Toppin. And he still saw a jump. You know, got 10 more minutes this year and went from pretty much 5 points to 10 points this year. On his average, got better from three, went from 31.9% to 34.5%, became a better free throw shooter. So, maybe if you give him more time, he could develop a little bit more. But I do still see him a little bit as a limited player, and I don't think we'll probably see the best Troy Brown until year 4 or year 5 of his contract since he has a first-round pick. But let us know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think about this Wizards team? If they're drafting number 1 overall, what should they do? If they're drafting 4 overall, what should they do? If they're at 9, what should they do? And obviously, is this a team that's looking for the playoffs? But let us know in the comments below.